I'll make a marker there to split the video. Haha. Heat load monitor. Okay, let's take a look at the new codex things we've got. Aliens, extinct races, the Prothean's cipher. The Prothean beacon downloaded its knowledge into Lieutenant Commander Shepard on Eden Prime, causing confusing dreams and visions. While the imagery is becoming clear with time, the meaning of the beacon communication remains elusive. It has been suggested that Prothean data recording is highly dependent on a certain point of view, what Carl Jung described as the collective unconscious. The cipher needed to comprehend the images implanted in Shepard's mind as the cultural knowledge of a Prothean, the archetypes, biological instincts, and common experiences universal to the race. Since the Protheans have been dead for millennia, it may be impossible to acquire this cipher. Aliens, non-council races. Geth, Hoppers. The Geth models, collectively dubbed Hoppers by Alliance forces, are electronic warfare platforms. They can project electromagnetic radiation across a broad spectrum as an offensive weapon. They can also perform cyber warfare attacks against the onboard computers of body armor, handsuits, and weapons, adversely affecting their performance. The structure of Hoppers consists of an advanced and highly elastic artificial muscle material. This allows a Hopper to compress its entire body for powerful leaps. Hoppers also have thousands of molecular scale barbs on the surface of their hands and feet, which are used to cling to walls and ceilings. Hoppers are very difficult targets, leaping from one surface to another in rapid succession. The Quarians have no record of any Geth models similar to Hoppers. The new morphotype must have been developed over the last 300 years by the Geth themselves. This is troubling proof that the Geth are continuing to move forwards towards technological singularity. Experts in synthetic life are intrigued that Hoppers appear to be even more organic than the baseline Geth. The identified subtypes of Hopper have been codenamed Sapper, Stalker, and Ghost. We wanted to add Spider-Man as an enemy, so we did. Here's the lore behind him. Or alternatively, Lickers from Resident Evil. Ah, Starships heat management. Hey, remember when I said we'd get lore on this? Dispersal of heat generated by onboard systems is a critical issue for a ship. If it cannot deal with heat, the crew may be cooked within the hull. Radiation is the only way to shed heat in a vacuum. Civilian vessels utilize large, fragile radiator panels that are impossible to armor. Warships use diffuse radiator arrays, or DRA, ceramic strips along the exterior of the armored hull. These make the ship appear striped to thermographic sensors. Since the arrangement of the strips depends on the internal configuration of the ship, the patterns for each vessel are unique and striking. On older ships, the DRA strips could become red or white hot, dubbed tiger stripes or war paint by humans. The glowing DRA had a psychological impact on pirates and irregular forces. Strip radiators are not as efficient as panels, but if damaged by enemy fire, the ship only loses a small portion of its total radiation capacity. In most cases, a vessel's DRA alone allows it to cruise with no difficulties. Operations deep within a solar system can cause problems, though. A ship engaged in combat can produce titanic amounts of heat from maneuvering burns and weapon fire. When fighting in a high-heat environment, warships employ high-efficiency droplet heat sinks. In a droplet system, tanks of liquid sodium or lithium absorb heat within the ship. The liquid is vented from spray nozzles near the bow as a thin sheet of millions of micrometer-scale droplets. The droplets are caught at the stern and recycled into the system. A droplet system can sink 10 to 100 times as much heat as DRA strips. Droplet sheets resemble a surface ship's wake through the water. The wake peels out in sharp turns, spreading a fan of droplets as the ship changes vector and leaves the coolant behind. So, that's right, the cool-looking stripes on the ships and stuff, they're not there to look cool, they're there for science reasons. To vent heat and radiations. Alright, now that we've completed a mission, every time we complete like a mainline mission, we need to make sure that we take the time to talk to everybody on the ship. How's it hanging, Joker?
I prefer gold to silver, you know, for my medal. I figured you'd recommend me for one since I pulled your boots out of the fire.
If we present you with a medal, you'll end up sitting on stage listening to politicians make speeches for a couple of hours. Fun, fun.
That's a good point. They'd probably make me shave, too. I spent the last 7 weeks working on this baby. No medal's worth that. So, Commander, why don't you tell me why you're really here?
How's the Normandy performing? Is she everything they said she'd be?
She's the best ship in the fleet. If
already got that before.
The Normandy's probably too much ship for your average Alliance pilot, Commander. Lucky for you, I'm anything but average.
I like to know my crew. Mind if I ask you if you...
I can see where this is.
Yeah,
Top of my class in flight
disease.
school, I earned that. All those commendations.
I can't have you on this ship if you're going to infect my crew.
Infect the crew? Oh man, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Okay, I've got Vrolik. Put the Normandy in my hands and I'll make her dance for you. Just don't ask me to.
How's the Normandy performing? Is she everything?
I think she's
the
got
Normandy's
nothing.
Probably too much ship for your average Alliance pilot, Commander. Lucky for you, I'm
How'd you end up joining the Alliance?
Look, if you're looking... Spend all
he's
Why
my...
does
got-
everyone call you Joker?
It's a lot shorter than saying Alliance. Look, I didn't pick the name.
Alright, he's
I
got
have to go.
nothing.
Alright, see ya.
I was hoping he'd have... Alright, see you. I was hoping he'd have more, but oh well. It'd take you 5 days to grow that much. It would take me 5 months to grow that much.
Yes, Commander?
You got anything for me, Presley? Nope.
Carry on, Presley.
Yes, sir.
This is not my first time playing Mass Effect. It's my third time playing Mass Effect 1. In the past, I've done a Renegade playthrough and a Paragon playthrough. But I've never done it on the hardest difficulty, so we're doing that. And I've never streamed myself doing it, so we're doing it on stream. Hey, Cade. How you doing?
Anything you need, Commander?
Just trying to get a sense of where the crew's at. Thoughts?
Is this an official evaluation, Commander? Or off the record?
Alenko, when it's just you and me, you can consider it off the record.
That's a generous attitude. Okay. I think there's something wrong with all this. This Saren is looking for records on some kind of galactic extinction, but we can't get backup from the Council? Sorry, Commander. There's writing on the wall here, but someone isn't reading it.
Yeah, I hear
The
you.
Council doesn't want to believe anything's wrong. I'd call it human nature, but...
I hear you. It just seems like a group that's been around as long as the Council should see this coming. Sorry if I got too informal. Protocol wasn't a big focus back in Bot.
Tell me about it.
Biotic acclimation and temperance didn't last past the airlock. To the kids they hauled in, it was brain camp.
Brain camp.
Hauled in is unkind. We were encouraged to commit to an evaluation of our abilities so an understanding of biotics could be compiled. There are worse results of accidental exposure to element 0 in the womb. Beats the brain tumors some kids grew up with.
Kinda doubt it was accidental, don't you?
Is there some question about how you were exposed?
My mother was downwind of a transport crash. It was before there were human biotics, a little after the discovery of the Martian ruins. It only gets iffy around 63 when Kinetics was running out of first-gen subjects. Until then, they'd relied on accidentals. A bunch of guys in suits show up at your door after school, and next thing you know, you're out on Jump Zero.
There were other kids in the same boat, right? At least you weren't alone out there.
That's true. We did have a little circle that'd get together every night before lights out. We didn't have much to do, though. It was a research platform then, and Kinetics kept Jump Zero off the extranet to prevent leaks.
Then you must have had plenty of time to get to know each other.
Yeah, we'd sit around and bull every night after dinner, play cards or network games.
I loved StarCraft.
There
It was
a
my
girl
favorite.
named Rana who had a little circle grow up around her. She was from Turkey. Her family was very rich, but she was smart and charming as hell. Beautiful, but not stuck up about it. I think you'd have liked her.
Got a crush?
Sounds like she was special to you.
She was. Maybe she felt the same, but things never felt together. Training, you know.
Jump Zero is Gagarin Station, right? What's it like?
Yeah, that's the official name. Biggest and farthest facility we had for decades. Right on the termination shock, the outer edge of the solar system. It's where they did all the Goose Chase FTL research before we caught on to using mass effect fields. It was a sterile research platform when I was there.
You know of any intentional exposures for certain?
No one knows. Doesn't mean they didn't happen. As big as the exposures were, it was hard to track down accidentals. It was different then. No one knew the potential, so there wasn't a lot of regulation. Anything Canadics did was gold. I'm not saying they intentionally detonated drives over our outposts, but in retrospect, they were damn quick on the scene.
So you're saying they intentionally detonated drives over your outpost, then?
Jump Zero is a long way from home. What was it like?
The grand gateway to humanity looks a lot better in the vids. But that's my own baggage, Commander. No bearing on this.
Alenko, there's no regulation that says you can't be friends with your commander.
I appreciate that, Commander. I just don't want you to think that I'm a whiner. Besides, I've got my past squared away.
Alright. Gained some more info on Caden
Anything
here.
you need, Commander?
Anything else?
Just trying to get a sense
I've
of where...
wasted enough of your time for now, Commander.
As I thought.
We'll have time for personal debriefings later.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Dr. Tassoni? Seems like a sweet girl. Easy on the eyes. I mean, if you like the bookish sort.
Just remember, Lieutenant, I saw her first.
Only by a few seconds, sir.
We'll talk another time, Lieutenant.
Commander?
Oh ho ho ho, Caden. Oh ho 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 ho. I'll kill you in your sleep.
Yes, Commander?
Got
Is there
anything
something
new?
you need?
Nope. Okay.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
Thanks, Chakwa. Male Shepherd? Well, yeah. Look, in my mind, male Shepherd plays as Paragon and female Shepherd plays as Renegade. Hi, Tolly. Let's talk.
Oh, hello, Shepard.
You sound down. Like I need this. My god, you just walk up to her. Oh, you sound a little down, or you can just say, oh, great, this.
Are you okay?
I don't know. Your ship is amazing, and your crew's been really great to me, especially your chief engineer. But I just sort of feel out of place. The Normandy runs so smooth, it feels like we're not even moving. And the engines are so quiet. How do you sleep at night?
Too quiet to sleep? Actually, no, I can get behind that.
The silence wakes you up?
I can't deal with
Back on the
silence at night
flotilla,
either.
The last thing you want to hear is silence. It means an engine's died or an air filter shut down. I guess you don't have to worry about that here. But old habits die hard. But it's more than just the silence. This ship feels so empty. It's like half the crew is missing. Back home, I couldn't wait to go on my pilgrimage. I couldn't wait to get away from the crowds. Now that I'm out here, I kind of miss them.
Sometimes we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone.
That's true. I'm starting to wonder if that's what the pilgrimage is really about. It's given me a whole new perspective on my people and our culture. You know, there's always a few who go on their pilgrimages and never return. I always assumed something bad happened to them. But maybe they just wanted a different life.
Do you plan to go back?
You do plan to return to the migrant fleet, right?
I could never abandon my people, Shepard. I will go back eventually. But we have to stop Saren first. Otherwise, I might not have a home to go back to.
Now, never say never, Tolly.
I should go.
That's all the new stuff from her. The problem I have when it's quiet is that when it's quiet, I can hear myself think, and nobody wants that.
So, we've got Saren on the run.
Hell
Won't
yeah,
be
we
long
do.
now. Saren's good, but I'm better.
Good. He's rotten. To the core. I could tell as soon as I met him.
You met him?
Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
I would've if I thought it was important.
Fair.
I think I'd like to hear about it just the same.
This was a while ago. A bunch of mercs were bragging about a job out near the edges of the Terminus systems. They said it paid well and the boss was never around to ride them. They said he was looking for more men, too. So I checked it out.
I'll say the Krogans always look kind of awkward when they're talking, because they'll like stand still with their arms beside them, and then their arms kind of look small as they do this. They look really extra stiff while they talk. There's no fluidity in the motion of them.
I didn't know Saren was openly recruiting mercs.
It wasn't that open, and he only showed his face once. We'd been raiding ships in the area for months when we took out this massive cargo freighter. Our biggest haul yet. I was on board checking bodies for valuables, looking for some extra credits. That's when I saw him.
Goodbye.
What did Saren want with the ship?
Just leave in the middle of a conversation.
He was just moving through the ship, watching. A couple of the mercs called him by name, but he never spoke to them. Never spoke to anyone. I had a really bad feeling about him, so I got the hell out. Didn't even wait to get paid.
What kind of cargo was the freighter carrying? What was Saren after?
I don't know. All I saw on that ship was food and medical supplies. There were some basic weapons, but nothing big. If there was anything of value on that ship, I didn't see it. That's why I didn't mention it sooner.
Whose ship was it?
There was a Volus trading vessel. Big one. Lots of guards. But they were no match for us.
That's it? You didn't get anything else?
That's the only time you saw him?
Yeah. Didn't even know who he was. Still wouldn't if I hadn't joined up with you. But my instincts were right. Every other merc on that mission turned up dead within a week. Every damn one.
So long, Rex.
Shepard.
Shepard.
Rex had the good wherewithal to be like, this Saren guy is sussy. He's a sussy baka, and just get out of there.
Commander, you have a minute to talk?
Not for a personal chat. Sure, what
I
up?
keep an open door policy. If you have any concerns, lay them on me.
All right.
Oh man, look at the bloom.
I know things are different aboard the Normandy, but I'm concerned about the aliens, Vicarian and Rex. With all due respect, Commander, should they have full access to the ship?
Why? Because they're aliens?
You don't trust their motives because they're not human.
This is the most advanced ship in the Alliance Navy. I don't think we should give them free rein to poke around the vital systems. Engines, sensors, weapons.
Ashley, this kind of fucked up.
You don't trust the Alliance's allies?
I'm not sure I'd call the Council races allies. We, humanity, have to learn to rely on ourselves.
I want to point out the aliens that she was complaining about are not necessarily council races. Rex is a Krogan who is not a council race, first off. And as for relying on ourselves and everything, no.
Standing up for ourselves doesn't mean standing alone.
I don't think we should turn down allies. I just think we shouldn't bet everything on them staying allies. As noble as the council members seem now, if their backs are against the wall, they'll abandon us.
Not necessarily.
I don't see that as inevitable.
Look, if you're fighting a bear and the only way for you to survive is to sick your dog on it and run, you'll do it. As much as you love your dog, it isn't human. It's not racism, not really. Members of their species will always be more important to them than humans are.
It's not racism, not really. You know, the only people that say it's not racism, not really, are people that just said some racist shit, you know. You know. Look, I'm not racist, but... So what she basically just said there is she's doing some backwards logic here. So because in her mind, if she had to abandon an alien compatriot, an alien ally, in order to save her own skin, she would do it. So in her mind, she believes that the other alien races would do exactly the same thing, given the same situation. So she's doing some backwards logic there. But the problem is, that's not necessarily true, because she don't know the other alien races and what they're going to want to do or desire to do in any way, shape, or form. For example, Rex would never abandon us, he's our bro. Garrus would never abandon us because we're going to fill his cloaca. Tali would never abandon us because we're going to repopulate the entirety of the flotilla with her. And Liara would never abandon us because she's going to have a memory bond with us for the rest of her life. So I've already debunked her entire philosophy with the 4 alien races that are on the ship, and there's only 4 of them. If any of them would do anything suspicious whatsoever, we have an entire ship full of highly trained covert operatives that could say, you know, they're doing something sussy here, and point it out. So everything Ashley's saying is bullshit.
These seem like deeply held beliefs, Williams. What made you think this way?
My family's defended the Alliance since it was founded. My father, grandfather,
This is just
great-grandmother,
prejudice.
they all picked up a rifle and swore the oath of service. I guess we just tend to think of Earth's interests as our own.
Sure, I can kind of get that, and I can kind of get where you're coming from not having the kindest of relations towards aliens, because 1, you have close family members that are tied to the war and would have some prejudices towards them that might have been passed down, and 2, you have spent a grand total of however long you've been on this ship near aliens. But we gotta break that habit there, Ashley.
It doesn't sound like you've worked with aliens before.
No, sir. Mainly I've been groundside, part of the surface garrison forces. I did get a rotation on a space station for training. Every Marine a rifleman, every rifleman ZG certified.
That's odd. Your record is spotless and your technical scores are exemplary. You should be serving with the fleet.
Anyway, that's why I haven't served with many aliens, Commander.
You're lucky. I lost my family on Mindoir. Are you related to anyone I'd have heard of?
Couldn't say, Commander. I read about Mindoir. The Alliance screwed the pooch on that one. Should have had a bigger garrison. Is that why you're out here? To take the fight to the pirates?
I mean, wouldn't you?
I saw a lot of people die. I can't sit back and let things like that happen.
Amen to that.
Just shut up. But yeah, everything Ashley is doing here is understandable, but wrong. She isn't putting things too far for now, and making things completely like horrible racism things and saying like all Turians are evil or anything like that. But she is at the same time showing a lot of xenophobia. She's not showing racism, she's showing xenophobia. which is a difference, a slight difference, but a difference. And most of hers comes from a place of ignorance rather than a place of hate. I say most because there's probably some hate coming from it due to close family members being in war against them and that kind of thing. But hey, you have to work with the aliens.
All right. I can see where your concerns are coming from, Williams. But this is a multilateral mission. You're going to have to work with aliens, like it or not.
It won't be a problem, Commander. You say jump, I say how high. You tell me to kiss a Turian, I'll ask which cheek.
And what about me?
Would you kiss anyone I ordered you to?
What a
That
skeevy
depends, sir.
comment.
If you ordered me to kiss a superior officer, that would be a violation of the regs concerning fraternization. That would make it an illegal order. I'd be required to decline and relieve you of command.
What a skeevy way to ask
Sir.
it. Would you kiss anyone I said to?
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Not sure I buy Dr. Tassoni's story about her and her mom not talking. They're family, right?
That's not necessarily true. I know people on the planet Earth that don't talk to their family. Look, Ashley, you seem to have grown up with family that you like to talk to, but that's not true for everyone in the world.
I think she's being straight with us. Or at least, I don't think she lies very often.
Yeah, she's probably really bad at it. Too bad those ruins got destroyed. I mean, they lasted thousands of years. That's impressive.
What's your opinion on the
Not
last
sure
mission?
I buy
same
Dr.
thing.
Tassoni's story.
I think she's...
Too bad those ruins got destroyed.
We'll talk later, Williams.
Looking forward to it, sir.
So yeah, I actually like discussing Ashley because she's a... Okay, so Ashley is in a very big topic of discussion around Mass Effect over whether or not she's racist or whatever like that, so it's an interesting topic to discuss. And part of why it's interesting to discuss is because real-life racists will defend racist attitudes in the video games from characters because they recognize it. And here's the thing. I wouldn't call her racist, I would call her xenophobic. Because she's not holding any harsh prejudices towards the aliens, but she's also not willing to even try to mingle with them. That being said, I can say the words, I'm not going to call her racist yet, and that would be pretty accurate because, well, let's just say there's opportunities in her future.
Commander, how are you?
Why did you want to be a CSEC officer in the first place?
That's a good question. There were several reasons, I guess.
Such
Like what?
as?
Probably the same as most officers. I wanted to fight injustice, wanted to help people. I guess my father had something to do with it too. He was CSEC, one of the best. I grew up hearing about his accomplishments or seeing his picture on the vids after a big arrest.
Why are you so quiet,
He's taking my
Garrus?
resignation pretty hard.
Should be a little louder. But yeah, for those that may not know, Ashley has the potential to be way worse in Mass Effect 3 especially. She can be downright actually disgustingly racist. So in Mass Effect 1, she's a pretty, like, interesting character because there's room for her to grow, and she's not necessarily racist but xenophobic, and it comes mostly from a place of ignorance and suspicion more than anything else, and getting to know aliens could cure that. But then in Mass Effect 3, she can also become just vile.
He's not impressed that you're going after Saren?
My father's a CSEC man to the bone. Do things right or don't do them at all, he says. He thinks I'm being too rash, too impatient. He's worried I'll become just like Saren. He actually talked me out of becoming a Spectre when I was younger, for the same reasons.
I always play Paragon, who are just companions to work well together, so I doubt I'll see that in my gameplay. Yeah, I've played through the game in both fashions of, like, all the Paragon, everyone be friends, and as Renegade, let's all hate each other. And First off, I don't like being renegade, let's all hate each other, because I like my allies, but I like all the aliens especially. Like, they're all fun and good characters. But if you egg on Ashley into being Space Hitler, she will become Space Hitler over time. That being said, you can also be renegade and egg Garrus into being a very funny assassin, to be honest.
You were asked to be a Spectre?
Well, I was targeted as a possible Spectre candidate. Me and about 1,000 other Turian military recruits. I could have received special training, but my father didn't like it. He despises the Spectres. He hates the idea of someone having unlimited power with no accountability. He wouldn't like you, Commander. No offense.
The Punisher? Kind of like a cross between the Punisher and Deadpool, in a way. Like, throw some Deadpool humor in there.
I suppose I can understand his concern.
You can. But Saren's not going to play by our rules, CSEC's rules. If you want to nail Saren, you need to send someone who isn't restricted by policies and procedures.
Not entirely true.
Just because you can break the rules doesn't mean you should. I don't need to stoop to Saren's level to stop him. And neither do you, Garrus.
We're better than him,
I see
Garrus.
what you mean, but I'll think about it. Thanks, Commander.
Listen, Garrus, we're better than him. We can live on the mountain of morality while we take Saren down, and prove that we're better in every possible way instead of just better at killing. Now, doesn't that feel better? Doesn't that make you tingle deep in your belly? I'll make you tingle deep in your belly, Saren. Yeah? You want to come back to my room in Mass Effect 3 and make you really tingle deep? Okay. We'll move on. Renegade is not a let's hate each other run. It can absolutely be a let's hate each other run. If you do every single option as Renegade, you will, in many cases, complain about aliens and push xenophobia forward. Hey, Liara, what's up?
Commander, are you coming to check up on me?
You look much better. How are you feeling?
Dr. Chakwas assures me I am going to be fine. I was impressed with her knowledge of Asari physiology.
Goodbye. You can just peace out.
You're in good hands. Dr. Chakwas knows what she's doing.
I never properly thanked you for saving me from the Geth, Commander. If you hadn't shown up,
I'm just glad we got there in time.
So am I. I know you took a chance bringing me aboard this ship. I have seen the way your crew looks at me. They do not trust me. But I am not like Benezia. I will do whatever I can to help you stop Saren. I promise.
Don't worry, Liara. I trust you. I know you won't let me down.
It means a lot to hear you say that, Commander. Thank you.
I mean, look at her and listen to her. This is a girl that hasn't lied a day in her life.
Tell me about yourself, Liara.
Me? I am afraid I am not very interesting, Commander. I spend most of my time on remote digs, unearthing mundane items buried in long-forgotten Prothean ruins.
You're right, that sounds boring as hell. You can be such an asshole in this game. It's great.
You must enjoy something about it.
I love my work. Seeking out history's lost secrets has a special appeal for me. You were actually touched by working Prothean technology. That is why I find you so fascinating, Commander.
Sounds like you want to dissect me in a lab somewhere.
What? No, I did not mean to insinuate. I never meant to offend you, Shepard. I only meant that you would be an interesting specimen for an in-depth study. No, that's even worse.
Liara's dropping spaghetti all over the place.
Calm down, Liara. I was only joking.
Joking? Oh, by the goddess, how could I be so dense? You must think I am a complete and utter fool.
Yes.
Now you know why I prefer to spend my time in the field with data disks and computers. I always seem to say something embarrassing around other people. Please, just pretend this conversation never happened.
Do you know why Benezia joined up with Saren?
I don't understand it. She was always outspoken about the need for the Asari to become more involved in shaping galactic events. Maybe she thought allying herself with Saren would somehow be for the greater good in the long run. At least I hope so.
This hurts you, doesn't it?
None of this makes any sense to me.
This hurts
I have
you,
not spoken
doesn't
to
it,
Benezia in
Shepard?
many years, but I know her, and this was not like her. Something changed.
I'd like to know more about the Asari.
We were the first species to discover the Citadel. We were instrumental in forming the Council, and we always strive to be the voice of peaceful cooperation in galactic disputes.
Space
My people
hippies.
believe we are all part of a single galactic community. Each species contributes something to the greater whole. Although we seek to understand other
Socialist
species,
space
it
hippies.
seems few of them seek to understand us. The galaxy is filled with rumors and misinformation about my people.
Do you mean the sex stuff?
Like what?
Most of the inaccuracies are centered around our mating rituals. My species is monogendered. Male and female have no real meaning for us. We still require a partner to reproduce. This second parent, however, may be of any species and any gender.
That's disgusting.
I don't understand. Your species can mate with anyone?
Mating is not quite the proper term, not as you understand it. Physical contact may or may not be involved, but it is not an essential element of the union. The true connection is mental. Our physiology allows us to meld with other beings. We can touch the very depths of their minds. We explore the genetic memory of their species. We share the most basic elements of their individual and racial identities. We then pass these traits on to our daughters. It is how we learn to grow as a species and how we develop a greater understanding of other races.
And you can actually see this in the game. Actually, I'm not sure how much you see it in Mass Effect 1. They definitely show it more in future Mass Effects. But there are various Asari who you can clearly tell are children of various other races, other alien races that you meet. For example, you'll see some, like, slower talking Asari who are definitely from an Elcor parent. You'll see some Asari who are more militaristic, I guess you could say, who are definitely from a Turian planet, or Turian parent, not planet, and etc., etc. Which is a really neat, really neat thing that they do throughout the series to give more credence towards the Asari gaining something through interspecies mingling.
What happens to your partner after the union?
Every relationship is different. Some unions are a single encounter with both parents parting ways afterwards.
One-night
Others
stands.
can be more long-term. Sometimes an Asari and her partner will stay together for many decades.
What about the age difference?
You Asari live for 1,000 years. What happens when your partner dies?
Few sapient species live as long as my kind. We have learned to take a philosophical approach to our unions. We do not focus on the inevitable loss of our partners. Instead, we enjoy the time we spend with them. And even after they're gone, a part of them lives on in us. The union is a connection that transcends both time and space.
I'll say that's kind of a difficult position to take from a human standpoint, at least. Now, it is something that humans do. For example, chat, how many of you here have a pet cat or a pet dog? Raise your hand. I'm sure that you know that the chances are you're going to outlive that pet at some point in time. And you're going to you know, have a bond, and you're probably going to love that pet plenty. But you're going to outlive them. So it's kind of similar to that, but on an even more interpersonal level, because this is two more sapient species that are able to communicate even better and even more intimately that they're doing that with. So the Asari have to have a lot of mental fortitude and really take an interesting look at the way of the universe to have that kind of thought process towards it. Especially because there are shown that there are Asari who will mate with and produce children with Solarians, for example. And Solarians live to like 30 to 40 years, and that's pushing it for them, you know? Meanwhile, the Asari are going to live 1,000.
Do you know who Matriarch Benezia chose as her partner?
She rarely spoke of
Anyway,
her
they're
father.
space elves.
Though I know my father, if you want to
Obviously.
use that term, was another Asari.
You can do that? Of course they can. What kind of option is this? Of course they can reproduce with their own people. How else would they have existed as a species? What a stupid choice.
Benezia never told you her partner's name?
Union with our own kind is no longer common, not for the purposes of reproduction. Most Asari believe it weakens our species. Asari daughters inherit racial traits from the father species. If both parents are Asari, then nothing has been gained, or so conventional wisdom would hold. I am what is sometimes called a pureblood, though no Asari would ever be cruel enough to say the word to my face. It is a great insult among my people. It is possible Benezia's partner was embarrassed by their union. She may have been too ashamed to publicly acknowledge me as her offspring.
That's kind of fucked. Honestly, that's kind of fucked up.
How could anyone abandon their own child?
I cannot answer that. This is all speculation on my part. It is possible she wanted to be part of my life, but something happened to her before she had the chance. Benezia never spoke of her partner. Whatever happened, it caused her too much pain to dwell on it. She raised me by herself, though that is not uncommon. Many Asari raise their children alone.
Space elves? You
particularly
mean
if
the
father
Eldar?
species is short-lived. Often the partner will pass on long before the child reaches maturity.
Do you know who Matriarch Benezia chose as her partner?
She rarely spoke of her partner. Though I know my father, if you want to use that term.
I thought you always needed another
You can
species
do that?
to serve as one of the parents.
Think about it, Shepard. If we were not able to mate with our own species,
Oh, look.
we would have died out
Common
long
sense.
before we ever mastered spaceflight and left our homeworld. Union with our own kind is no
Shepard,
longer
are you
common, not for
slightly
purposes of
stupid?
reproduction. Most
What a
Asari
dumb
believe
answer.
It weakens our species. Asari daughters inherit racial traits from the father species. I am what is sometimes. It is possible Benezia's partner was embarrassed by their union.
Maybe she wanted to meet you but couldn't. Something could have happened to her. Maybe she passed away.
You might be right. I hope you are. But I have no way to know for sure. Benezia never spoke of her partner. Whatever happened, it caused... Many Asari raise their children alone, particularly if the father species is short-lived. Often the partner will pass on long before the child reaches maturity.
Yeah, if maturity is about 100 years of time, according to Liara, before you are considered basically a young adult, then most species would die off before their child reaches that age. You know, let's see, what species could possibly survive that we have seen here in Mass Effect? The Krogans could, but unfortunately for the Krogans, their balls don't work. The humans might just barely reach there before dying off. And I think the Turians might reach there before dying off, but unlikely. And that's it. I think that's it for the alien species that would have a chance to live long enough to see their
I should go.
Asari child reach young adulthood. Or at least that we know of in terms of the longevity of the species. All right.
Faster than light drone,
Space combat.
ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the
Codex
mass
time.
accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close as a few dozen kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay.
I like one thing they described earlier in our codexes, where they described that the amount of heat generated by the thrusters of a ship is such that if a ship were to point its thrusters into another ship, it should melt it like butter over a fire. And that seems like a hilarious battle tactic. To just be like, all right, get the ship right up against him. Now blast the death fart on him. Okay, we have Asari culture. Because of their long lifespan, Asari tend to have a long view not common in other races. When they encounter a new species or situation, the Asari are more comfortable with an extended period of passive observation and study than immediate action. They are unfazed by some of their investments or decisions may not pay off for decades or centuries. Matriarchs can seem to make incomprehensible decisions, but their insight is evident when their carefully laid plans come to fruition. In interstellar relations, this long view manifests in an unspoken policy of centrism. The Asari instinctively seek to maintain stable balances of economics, political, and military power. Traditionally, Asari spread their influence through cultural domination and intellectual superiority. They invite new species of advanced development to join the galactic community, knowing that their ideals and beliefs will inevitably influence the existing culture. Because nobody can resist that blue ass. When Asari play Civilization 6, they always go for a cultural victory, never war or technology. Turian culture. While Turians are individuals with personal desires, their instinct is to equate the self with the group, and set aside personal desires for the good of all. Turians are taught to have a strong sense of personal accountability, the Turian honor that other races find so remarkable. Turians are taught to own every decision they make, good or ill. The worst sin they can make in the eyes of their people is to lie about their own actions. Turians who murder will try to get away with it, but if directly questioned, most will confess the crime. Turians have a strong inclination toward public service and self-sacrifice, so they tend to be poor entrepreneurs. To compensate, they accepted the mercantile Volus as a client race, offering protection in exchange for their fiscal expertise. The Turian military is the center of their society. It is not just an armed force, it is an all-encompassing public works organization. The military police are also the civic police. The fire brigades serve the civilian population as well as military facilities. The Corps of Engineers builds and maintains spaceports, schools, water purification plants, and power stations. The Merchant Marine ensures that all worlds get needed resources. So Turians are like a combination of communism and fascism. Yeah, honestly, that's pretty much what they're rolling with. A funky mix that hasn't resulted in horrible dictatorships. So far. Turian military doctrine. Although they lack the brutality of the Krogan, the skill of the Asari, and the virtuosity of the humans, the Turian military has formidable discipline. Officers and NCOs are lifers with years of field experience. Enlisted personnel are thoroughly trained and stay calm under fire. Turian units do not break. Even if their entire line collapses, they fall back in order, setting ambushes as they go. A popular saying holds, you will only see a Turian's back once he's dead. Boot camp begins on the 15th birthday. Soldiers receive a year of training before being assigned to a field unit. Officers train for even longer. Most serve until the age of 30, at which point they become part of the reserves. Even if they suffer injuries preventing frontline service, most do support work behind the lines. Biotics are uncommon. While admired for their exacting skills, biotics' motives are not always fully trusted by the common soldier. The Turians prefer to assign their biotics to special teams called cabals. Command and control is decentralized and flexible. Individual squads can call for artillery and air support. They make extensive use of combat drones for light duties and practice combined arms. Infantry operates with armor, supported by overhead gunships. Strategically, they are methodical and patient and dislike risky operations. Tradition is important. Each legion has a full-time staff of historians who chronicle its battle honors in detail. The oldest have records dating back to the Turian Iron Age. If a legion is destroyed in battle, it is reconstituted rather than replaced. The Turians recruit auxiliary units from conquered or absorbed minor races. Auxiliaries are generally light infantry or armed cavalry units that screen and support the main Turian formations. At the conclusion of their service in the auxiliaries, recruits are granted Turian citizenship. So honestly, the Turians, despite being a very militaristic society in a way, are pretty generous about it. It's a very Spartan approach. In fact, I think the Turians are kind of based around the Spartans and the stories about how the Spartans worked for the most part, and which is you go and serve the military at a young age, you go off to conquer stuff, and you retire after however many years. Any people that you conquer have the ability to join into the military themselves, and after however many years in the military, are granted citizenship with them. The Romans also did a very similar thing themselves. In fact, I think the Romans kind of absorbed the Spartans in a similar fashion. Alright, extinct races. Prothean Beacon. The beacon was a Prothean artifact unearthed on the Alliance colony of Eden Prime. Its resemblance to the Prothean databanks recovered on Mars provoked immediate interest from the Alliance and the Citadel Council. It proved to be a solid-state data storage device, part of a galaxy-spanning comm network similar to the modern extranet. Intact Prothean paleotechnology is rare. The beacon seemed to promise another quantum leap of technology akin to the discovery of the Mass Effect drive and relays. Unfortunately, the beacon also drew the attention of the rogue specter Saren Arterius and his synthetic allies, the Geth. A dawn raid by his flagship Sovereign resulted in hundreds of civilian casualties. The beacon was badly damaged. The motives behind the attack are still being investigated. During the recovery operation, the beacon fired a pulse of energy at the executive officer of the Alliance frigate Normandy, Lieutenant Commander Shepard, survived, and appears to have suffered no ill effects, with the exception of the horrible PTSD that he sees every night in bed. Afterwards, the beacon fell inert. The mechanism appears to be dead. Planets and locations. The Gagarin Station. The Gagarin Station is the largest deep space station built by humanity, a Bernal sphere design with a 500-meter diameter habitable area. It was constructed beyond Pluto, near 80 astronomical units, that is 12 billion kilometers from Sol, the Sun. Moving crew and material to this location bankrupted most of the backers. Gagarin was placed in the inner edges of the heliopause, the point at which the solar wind can no longer push back the interstellar medium. It was built to test a number of faster-than-light drive principles that theoretically could only occur in interstellar space. The station was nicknamed Jump Zero, as it was intended to be the jumping-off point for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Shortly after the station was completed, though, the Prothean ruins were discovered on Mars, rendering the entire effort moot. I'm sure all of those companies that got bankrupted backing this were real pleased about that. You mean we got bankrupted for nothing? Fuck. After struggling to make a profit for a decade, Gagarin was sold to the Systems Alliance in 2159 for a fraction of its construction costs. The Alliance refurbished it as a research and training center for the recently discovered biotic phenomenon. In 2169, the Biotic Acclimation and Training Program was shut down and Gagarin became a general research facility. Its remote location and intentional isolation from the extranet makes it popular for dangerous research, particularly in the field of artificial intelligence. You know, that illegal stuff we're not supposed to do? Humanity's first stable AI, the Alliance-sponsored ELIZA, achieved sapience at Gagarin in 2172. Today, Gagarin Station has a permanent population of approximately 9,000. A plan has been proposed to move it to the gravitationally stable barycenter between Pluto and the Charon Relay, allowing it to serve as a gateway facility between the Sol and Arcturus systems. The high cost of safely moving its mass has delayed this indefinitely, though. So yeah, remember how we're not supposed to develop AI? We're developing AI. The Council races said not to do that, and we said, sure, we won't do that. FTL drive appearance. New space travelers ask, what does it look like outside a ship moving at faster than light speed? Part of the answer can be seen in a simple pane of glass. Light travels slower through glass than it does through open air. Light also moves slower in conventional space than it does in a high-speed mass effect field. This causes refraction. Any light entering at an angle is then bent and separated into the spectrum. Objects outside of the ship will appear refracted. The greater the difference between the objective exterior and the subjective interior speeds of light, the greater the refraction. As the subjective speed of light is raised within the field, objects outside will appear to redshift, eventually becoming visible only to radio telescope antenna. High-energy electromagnetic sources normally hidden to the eye become visible in the high blue spectrum as the speed of light continues to be raised, then X-ray, gamma ray, and eventually cosmic ray sources begin to become visible. Stars will be replaced by pulsars, the accretion disks of black holes, quasars, the gamma ray bursts. To an outside observer, a ship within a Mass Effect drive will instead appear blue-shifted. If within a field that allows travel at twice the speed of light, any radiation it emits has twice the energy as normal. If the ship is in a field of about 200 times light speed, it radiates visible light as X-rays and gamma rays, and the infrared heat from the hull is blue-shifted up to the visible spectrum or higher. Ships moving at FTL are visible at great distances, though their signature will only propagate at the speed of light. This is some great, very interesting scientific theory here on I'm sure basically they went and asked some scientists what would happen if a ship was moving at light speed or even faster than the speed of light. What would it look like from the outside, and what would the people, if they looked outside of it, see? And then this is the answer that the scientists gave the BioWare team at the time, and it's a super interesting answer. It's a very interesting theoretical answer, which should prove correct, but we have no way of possibly knowing because we have no way of moving anything with someone inside of it faster than the speed of light to test it properly. But it's a really cool answer. Technology, biotics training. Biotic implants and amplifiers only provide the potential to create coherent Mass Effect fields. Whether biotics can actually do so, though, is largely determined by their training. Biotics must develop conscious control over their nervous systems, sending specific electrical impulses to the Element 0 nodules embedded in their nerves. They're taught to use their implants and amps with biofeedback devices and physical mnemonics. Specific gestures or muscle movements fire the proper sequence of nerves to activate a certain skill. Conadix Industries pioneered biotic training with the Biotic Acclimation and Temperance Training Program. Although BOT did not achieve the desired results, many techniques taught are still used today. Many human think tanks are trying to develop some form of biotic super soldier. Most are benign efforts to create more flexible troops, but others, less publicly known, are unapologetic attempts to create Nietzschean supermen. Supermen. Mass Effect fields would be a game changer if they could actually be done. Well, yeah. A biotic god, one might say. Oh, where'd you get that term from? Well, that's the whole point about this, is that humanity was just creeping past Pluto. Just creeping past Pluto with their ability to transport people. And then we found the information on the Mass Effect relays and got access to that. And now, instead of we can barely go past Pluto, we can shoot to the opposite end of the entirety of the Milky Way galaxy, which is an infinite difference in distance. So it's why they say that discovery of this stuff like brought eons of technological advance to the races when they discover it, because the difference between, let's put it this way, it's the difference between I can walk outside of my room versus I can walk to the other side of the planet. And not only that, but the difference is it takes me 5 seconds to walk to the other side of the room versus it takes me 1 second to walk to the other side of the planet. So they're like massive, insane game changers, but also incredibly impossible. At least by the laws of physics that we understand as they are. As we understand physics in current year, 2022, Mass Effect fields would be mega impossible. But it's not like the laws of physics are necessarily 100% set in stone. Who knows, there might be some sort of advancement that's found at some point in time that changes the game up. It happens. Anyway, I like the pseudoscience tech talk. I think it's really interesting in Mass Effect. So, you know, glad to read it for you guys if you're enjoying it. Hope you are.